Good evening. For tonight's podcast, I'm going to be covering how to look younger without needles. So no Botox, no fillers here. As a doctor, I'm actually quite concerned about this trend for injecting toxins, which is what Botox is, and other substances into our skin without really longitudinal evidence of what they can actually do in a bad way. And also, surely we also want the texture of our skin to look good as well. So I'm here to talk about some of the pitfalls associated with some of these sort of cosmetic enhancements, but also to explain some of the ways you can help yourself without needing to resort to needles. So my name is Dr. Helene. I'm an emergency medicine doctor and also a vet certified animal aromatherapy specialist and a dog behaviorist. And so this show is for people who want to look after their own health and the health of their pets in an integrative way. And we talk about everything from gut health and stiff joints to itchy skin and the power of essential oils. And I use my experience in human and animal wellness to give you the natural tools you need to help you and your dog feel the best at both ends of the lead. So don't forget to subscribe, and please, if you feel like it, give me a 5-star review, because it helps me create more content that's going to be useful for you as well. So as an emergency doctor, I do see a side of the beauty industry that actually doesn't make it onto sort of the Instagram filters and, all that stuff. And the reality is there's often quite a fallout from some of these enhancements, from whether it's Botox or fillers or your turkey facelift, your turkey teeth. And I do think it's a worry, and the cosmetic industry actually isn't very well regulated. Now, I know there are some very good practitioners out there who, I've got colleagues of mine who work very well, and, they're very responsible. But I do think there's a lot of issues surrounding the cosmetic industry, and, we don't really know what's going on. So, things that we might see are things like allergic reactions to fillers, and once it's in, it's really hard to get that filler out. They use enzymes to break it down, but actually the filler's still there. So it's actually quite a complex problem. And then obviously there's Botox migration. So they paralyze the wrong facial muscle. So you're going to be stuck like that until the Botox wears off. And then also you get infections as well. Lots of cosmetic tourism. And here's the thing. You go to Turkey to have your facelift done or whatever you're having done, and something goes wrong, no one wants to help you because they don't want the responsibility of trying to fix someone else's botched work. And the advice will be you need to go and speak to your surgeon about it. So people end up getting stuck. And I mean, I have seen people with sort of wound infections where actually when they've had the facelift, their ear hasn't been reattached properly either. So you've got this bit of flap. It's quite scary. And, also there's the dental infections from all the turkey teeth and things like that, causing more problems. So it is scary what's going on. And I think you do need to be aware of the complications, because the websites and all the brochures are all, lovely and glossy, aren't they? But what actually happens when things go wrong? You end up in the emergency department, and it's going to cost you. I'm just going to put my cat Holly down because she's molting. It's going to cost you a lot more to put right, both in terms of finances, but also your own health. I can't even talk about some of the things that I've seen, but we're talking life-changing. People have gone because they want to look younger, and they've ended up with devastating side effects that actually, have put looking younger into such a small corner. It's absolutely life-changing. So this isn't about scare tactics or shaming anyone if you love your injectables, but it's actually looking at the long-term health of your skin and how to get looking younger naturally without this. Now, I think we are injecting all these synthetic toxins and foreign gels into our face without long-term data on what actually is going to happen to those tissues 10 to 15 years down the line. And, are we going to see them migrate into other areas? Is there going to be sort of lots of chronic low-grade inflammation? We just don't know. There just isn't enough information there. And I think that is a real concern as well, because what's going to happen? And, I think it's really awful that I'm seeing young girls, even younger than 20 and 18, injecting themselves with Botox or fillers because they want to look like different people with this plastic look, this frozen look. And I personally don't think it's a good look. But also, I think one of the things as you get older as well is there's a difference between inflating the skin to make it look plumper, because yes, sometimes we all want a little bit of a lift, and actually healing it. And so, you know, you'll see people with sort of no lines on their forehead or plump lips and plump cheeks, but actually really poor skin texture and sluggish cell renewal and a compromised skin barrier. And so the skin actually isn't looking very good. And so that's one of the problems. And then a lot of the creams that you buy on the market, they just sit on top of the surface. They don't actually penetrate deeply. So they're not creating, you know, real health to your skin. They're just creating an artificial layer without actually changing the biology of the skin either. Now, I suffered with really severe hyperpigmentation, and I'm going to actually put a link to my blog post in the caption of this podcast, so you can have a look at my pictures. But I literally had brown spots all up my cheeks. It was really quite horrendous. Now, I wasn't that bothered by it. You know, if I was going out for the evening, I'd obviously wear makeup, and at work I don't. But I go into the toilets and, you know, the bright lights there, and I'd be like, oh my goodness, my cheeks just looked dreadful. And I looked into different ways to get it improved. And I was going to have dermabrasions. This is basically, they sand your face. You know, it's a proper cosmetic procedure. And I thought, I cannot put myself through that at all. And a few years ago, I actually tried an essential oil blend. This is actually the one I tried. And I started using it, and within a couple of weeks, I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know, I didn't get it to do this. I got this offer, I got this free, and I just was like, well, I'll try it. And it changed my skin completely. My hyperpigmentation was completely reversed. And it's just amazed me, and it woke me up to the power of using essential oils and how beneficial they can actually be. And also, as someone who is older, there's a number of other things that you can use to help plump that skin up and get rid of those lines. So, you know, I was using this Cellular. Another one I use is something called Yarrow Pom. And Yarrow Pom is yarrow essential oil and pomegranate oil. And the combination of this is absolutely beautiful. If you're watching this on video, it's blue. But it actually works to stop the enzyme that breaks down collagen and elastin, and it actually works to boost collagen. It is phenomenal. I'm going to link to these two in the caption as well, if you want to sort of find out a bit more and get them, because they are an absolute power duo, and I do give you a bit of a discount if you buy them both, so don't worry. But how I use them, so this one will last about a year. I dilute this down to a quarter, and I use it on my face morning and night. It will last a bit longer I probably get about 8 months, because I use it twice a day because I'm getting older. And then Yarrow Pom I use at night. Now, what I've also started to do is I've started to use gua sha, so a rose quartz, to really help massage, because I am a lot older than I let. Now, using those two options was working perfectly for me up until about a year ago. And then if you do follow me on social media, or you read my podcast, you read my blogs, you know that last May I went through a very, very devastating loss of 2 of my dogs, literally within 2 weeks. One was elderly, one was nearly 13. She was 4 days off her 13th birthday, but she died very suddenly. It was absolutely devastating. And so I have neglected myself. I know that I aged after losing her. I mean, in actual fact, if you're watching me on a video, you'll see that I've got my hair in a plait. I haven't actually worn my hair loose since last May. You know, it's just put in a plait. So, you know, I am aware that I've really let myself go, and I could see that reflected in my skin. You know, I was looking at videos of me, side profiles, and I was like, oh my goodness, I have really aged. My skin is really saggy. And so a couple of weeks ago, I was like, I have really got to take steps to make those changes. And so, excuse me, I've been using my gua sha, my rose quartz, to massage my face, and I do that pretty much every night, and then put Yarrow Pom on first, and then gua sha, but also a couple of nights in the week. I use a derma roller as well to go over those areas, and then apply yarrow pom and Salubel after that. So when I'm doing the gua sha, I do apply the Salubel as well. And I'm really pleased with how my skin's looking in just 2 weeks. I can see the plumpness. I can see it looking so much better. I'm not looking quite as haggard. And I know, and that's only 2 weeks. And so, you know, these essential oils really, really work. And and I'm not a real vain person, but it was sort of looking in the mirror, I was quite shocked to see what I looked like, you know, because I was looking at videos of what I looked like before. And I suppose we do want to look a bit better than, you know, maybe than we age. But it was starting to bother me, and it did give me a wake-up call. And so I've been sort of working very hard on my skin. And I also use red light therapy as well. So periodically during the week as well, I will use the red light therapy. I tend to do it during the day because I use red light therapy on my dog. So after I've done the red light therapy on them, I put it on myself, because I've got this handheld little device. Actually, it's this one here. I've got it here. So I use that over different areas just to plump up. And then I put my oils that I'm using for the day on my skin afterwards. And again, I can link information on that in the captions as well. But it's really made a massive difference. And I feel quite pleased that I feel it's a huge progress for my grief, but also it's been really good for me because I can see the difference. And I'm like, yeah, this does really work, and it really helps because it's feeding the skin barrier with sort of pure plant chemistry, and you know, the texture's getting smoothed back. It's looking more plump. I can actually feel in my cheeks they were sagging, and I can actually see the plumpness coming back. So I'm starting to feel a little bit, you know, I don't know if I'll ever be myself again, but I feel like, you know, I've made some huge progress there. So plants, but the essential oils actually penetrate into the cells, okay, because they're oils, and cells have a lipid layer surrounding them. They can actually penetrate deep within the cells, and so they don't just sit on top of the skin, and they can support all the cellular health, as I said, the collagen production and the elasticity from the inside out. And so, you know, when you apply that as well with some targeted facial massage, it can really work wonders to lift, firm and plump without needles as well. Now, I'm actually going to be hosting a free live little masterclass all on this, sharing loads of tips on how you can look younger naturally without Botox or fillers. So do check out the caption for the link to the event. If you're watching this a few months after June 26th, then the live's probably been and gone, or maybe I'm actually doing another one. But I will leave a link where you can actually watch the replay so that you'll be able to still get all the information. Because, you know, these things are going to really improve your skin texture and also have the plumpness as well. So whether or not you actually still want to carry on having your Botox and fillers, this will help improve your texture. And if you are someone who actually is like, no, I never want to have needles in my face, this is going to help you get those benefits without that frozen look as well. So as always, if you've got any questions, just comment below, and don't forget to leave me a little 5-star review if you would be so kind, and to hit the follow or the subscribe button if you don't already do so. Take care, stay safe, stay well. Bye.